Welcome to Programming in Modern C++. This is our first meeting actually before the regular course modules start. I am Professor Parthapratim Das from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Kharagpur, and I am a very passionate developer, designer, moderator, tutor of C++ language and its evolution. So, welcome you to this course. This particular module, which we call module 0 for week 0, is meant to give you some head start in terms of what the course will be about and what it will contain. In module 1, when the course starts, we will give you very specifics in terms of the syllabus, in terms of the details of evaluation and all that. We are not going to talk about all this. Here I am just going to tell you primarily whatever is listed, what is the overall plan. And the objective for this module is, and you will see that this is the style that we follow in every module. Every module will start with the objective of what we try to do there and summarize it at the end. So, the objective of this module is to understand the course outline in terms of the several modules and tutorials that will be available to you through this course. Further, and that is the key attention area, is there are critical actions that you need to take before the course starts. So, before the course starts, how do you prepare, how do you make yourself ready is what we will outline here. There are 4 primary actions needed for you: revision of C, revision of basic data structure, revision of algorithms, installing the tools for building C and C++ programs, and last but not the least, if you think that you would love to have some additional tutorial created for your better understanding, please let us know. Now, what is the objective of this course? C++ is a strong language. Possibly as of now, it is the strongest programming language ever built. It is certainly, with C, it is certainly the most efficient programming language, but it is not the easiest to learn. If you are looking for learning an easy language and quickly getting onto some programming, learn Python. If you want to just focus on application program development, maybe you should start with Java. But the C++ pair, because C++ in a way partly to a great extent subsumes C, gives you very specific skills to do good level of programming in complex systems, in terms of building infrastructure software, and is one of the most valued programming skills in the market today. If you compare the kind of pay packet of developers skilled in different languages, C++ skill will be amongst the highest. So, keeping that in mind, naturally I just do not want to only impart you knowledge, because we are engineers. Knowledge is important for us, but what is even more important is the effective use of that knowledge to create wealth for others, create wealth for ourselves, which means that we need to talk about practice all the time, and this course is focused to that direction. So, what specifically you would learn is learn to develop software using C++. It has multiple versions. What is been common till about a decade ago, and still most people program in that, is the C++ 98 or 03 standard. We will give you glimpses of what the standards are and when in the actual module. So, you will learn about what is the features of C++ on top of C. So, we expect that you know C, and that is the reason it is critical that you revise C. Then C++ you have heard always that is the object oriented language. So, what is it object oriented paradigm on which C++ relies, and what is a huge, I should not say huge, very useful libraries that C++ has, which can make the effective use of them can make your programming easy, fast, reusable, reliable, and so on. So, learning this software development with C++ is a key interest area. Over the last 2 decades, C++ has gone through a lot of further development, and the major version of C++ that people have been talking about for the last 10 years or so is C++ 11, which particularly is also being called as a modern C++, which has features on top of C++ 9803. It makes some of the very critical programming aspects directly supported in the language, like concurrent programming, parallel programming kind of concurrent programming. There are things like Lambda expressions and so on. It provides much better quality and efficiency on top of C++ 03. So, this additionally you will also learn about. So, if you would you may have noticed that earlier till the semester of autumn semester of 2021, NPTEL have been offering a course which again I had created, programming in C++, which was only this part. It was an 8-week course. Now, you are going to do a 12-week course, which is programming in modern C++, which will have this, on which we will spend 9 weeks, and which will have the last 3 weeks spent on the modern aspects of C++ to really equip you, make you a skilled developer in C++. It is also important, as I started saying, that just knowing the language will not benefit, that knowing the language will not give you a good job. You need to cultivate the skill of design, of coding, of debugging, testing the software in C++ and so on. Naturally, we cannot cover those in the course. So, I have been creating certain additional tutorials which are not part of the syllabus, but would help you become an effective engineer of C++ development. So, if you are inclined towards that, if you want to learn more, if you want to really become a good developer, follow those tutorials well, which are directly linked to several hands-ons that you should be doing. And this is the final objective, this is the ultimate objective, that you must attain strong employability with hands-on skills. You can pass the interview by memorizing lot of features of C++, maybe some code segments also. But to be an effective developer who can contribute, you will have to have hands-on skills of software development. And besides the regular C++ modules on which based on the syllabus and on which the tests will happen, the tutorials will go a long way in helping in towards that. So, this is about the objective. So, the week 0 plan, as I say, which you will have to drive it by yourself, and week 0 is not 1 week. Week 0 is the entire time from when you enroll to the time the course actually starts. So, it may be a couple of weeks. So, this is about getting ready. So, module 0 is what we are discussing here, where you will get the entire plan of modules and tutorials and so on. But what is most important are you will also get 2 additional modules, which we call quick recap module. So, it needs a fair preparedness of C to be able to start understanding the course from day 1. So, if your C is kind of got rusted, you have doubts and so on, these are just kind of summarization module which tell you all that you need to know about C. It is, these are not a course on C, because the course on C will again be an 8 weeks course, 10 weeks course like that, but these are certainly summarizes the key points about C, which you should go through and ask yourself that do you know, and if you know, can you write? If you can write, can you compile and run? If you can compile and run, can you debug? Can you fix? Can you test? So, do that exercise by yourself and get ready. So, expectation is that when you start attending the C++ modules or going through the C++ modules, you must have got this confidence over C, because we will right away start assuming that you know C. Right? Other thing that we need is lot of these examples used or the problems discussed rely on basic data structures and algorithms. Now, certainly I am not talking about a whole range of data structures. I am talking about simple ones like array, stack, queue, priority queue, maybe matrix vector, a little bit of graph. If you know more, if you know different kind of trees, different kind of all varieties of graph representation, then skip lists and randomized BST and so on, good. But the minimum is array, stack, queue, priority queue, matrix vector, little bit of graph, right. If you got rusted, please revise from any source. There is a course on this, but certainly you cannot start attending that right away, but you can pick up the common books and do that. Similarly, you must be familiar with the basic algorithms for doing simple things like adding a set of numbers, doing different types of sortings, at least few common sorting algorithms like quick sort, mud sort, bubble sort, selection sort, these kind of, and doing some searching like linear search, binary search and so on. This is a very minimal requirement, but it will be good to revise them before you get into the course, because we will be continuously taking to illustrate how the language can, C++ language can effectively help you in programming, oversee and independently how we can model different scenarios. We will often refer to these data structures and these kind of elementary algorithms. So, please do a recapitulation of that before you start doing the course modules. Last but not the least is you must have, when you start doing the course, every module will have a number of examples discussed in terms of the code, in terms of the expected output and so on. So, I will strongly advise that the easiest way to get skilled as a developer would be to take each and every example and actually compile them, build them, run them and see the effect, right. Whether it is some examples are meant for correctly working, some are meant to illustrate some errors or pitfalls and so on. you should be able to experience all of that, not merely by what I say in the slide, but by actually doing them. So, you need a C and C++ compiler, because we will be working on both of these. You need a debugger. So, for this you will, if you are on Linux, then normally the Linux distribution has that, what we call is a GCC, GNU compiler collection, which has C compiler as well as C++ compiler. If you are on Windows, then you should use this particular compiler, which is called Minimalist GNU for Windows, or MinGW. Use MinGW, use the GDB from GNU project, and if you want assistance in terms of how to install them, I have given reference of a video here, which is from YouTube. Here that the presenter has very nicely described how to install GDB on the Windows. So, get that installed. So, your actions, to summarize your actions before the course starts, is to familiarize with the modules and tutorials. Overall, do not try to spend a lot of time, because they will gradually evolve. This is just a checklist for you for the future also. Revise your C either independently or through this quick recap modules. Revise your data structures, revise your algorithms both at the basic starting level, and install and try out the build tool, right. If you have done this, you will be rightly positioned to start the course from the very first module, and you will be able to make most out of this course, right. So, please try to do that. Now, in terms of the overall course outline, as you know, this is a 12-week course. Every week you will get 5 modules for 12 weeks. Each module would be about half an hour, some may be of 28 minutes, some may be of 32 minutes, but on the average of half an hour. And so, you will have total of 60 modules. The modules are numbered by M. So, like this is M00, your first module of week 1 will be M01, second will be M02, like that. In this way, you will have up to M60. So, they will cover the course syllabus, and they are used for assignments and examinations. So, this is your primary source of information. I have already talked about supplementary quick recap module, which are shown as QR, which is primarily to help you recapitulate on C. Then there are a series of tutorials given. The objective of the tutorials are twofold. One is to help you practice some of the core things that we are doing in these modules. That is one part. But what I have been trying to focus very significantly is to cover those aspects of software development, particularly in C++, that you must know, but that is not a part of the course syllabus. For example, how to build a C++ program, well, how to build a library, how to use automation in building a C++ project, which is slowly getting big. If we are talking about C and C++ both, are they compatible? Will a C program, can a C program be considered as a C++ program and be compiled with a C++ compiler? What are the different tools available for development, for testing, for archiving, and so on and so forth? So, there are various aspects that are beyond the basic learning of the language, which are required for you to become good developers. Tutorials will not be used for your assignments or examination. So, if you do not immediately have time to do them all, it is your call. But if you want to become a good developer of C, C++ and want to attract attention of a good pay package, I would say that do the tutorials very thoroughly, repeatedly, and practice whatever we are trying to say in those. Tutorials are of two nature. One we say is a complementary type. Complementary type are those which actually does not talk about make reference to the language so much, but talks about other things like what are the programming practices, how do you build programs, various aspects of program development and so on. Supplementary ones are extensions of your language knowledge. For example, how to mix in a project. If you have some files which are in C, some files in C++, how do you deal with that mix situation? Can a C function call a C++ function? Can a C++ function call a C function, and so on and so forth? What are the compatibility between these languages and so on, which are talking about the language to a good extent, but talking beyond the scope of the language learning in the course, but very much in the scope of becoming a good C++ developer. Right. So, I have clearly said tutorials are not part of the syllabus, they are included for developing all round skills for you if you desire to do so. These are the week wise topics. Normally in every, the way I have organized, in every week I have a primary theme that we are trying to learn, and how do they cover. So, here are those, and as you can see that as first 9 weeks we will primarily focus on the commonly known C++, which is C++ 98 or 03, and the last 3 weeks we will focus on the modern aspects of C++, which is modern C++ and C++ 11. Right. So, these are the basic topical details. In terms of tutorial, I have already said that we will have complementary natured tutorials and we will have supplementary natured tutorials. Later on in this module itself, I have some I have a tentative list of the tutorials that we are going to provide to you. Now, from this point onward, for every week you will have you will find a slide which talks about the theme of that week, which is on top written in brown, and these are the different module numbers. So, it is M01 to M05 is what you get in the first week, and what is the topic of that particular module is described here. It is no point reading, keep on reading this out. So, I will just flip through and you can make references and you can make your own notes based on this plan of how you want to schedule your study and so on. So, this is about building and executing C programs in C++, writing equivalent programs. Week 2 will primarily talk about the procedural extensions of C into C++, which are not object oriented, but very important for the language. Week 3 will start on the object oriented programming and will continue into week 4. So, we say OOP in C++ part 1, which talks about the basic features, encapsulations and so on. OOP in other features, overloading, namespace, structure and union, this will be done in the second part in week 4. Week 5 will talk about another very strong feature of object orientation, that is inheritance. What is generalization, specialization concept? It will extend to polymorphism, where you can various ways you can write the same function which behaves in multiple different ways based on the context of the object. We will have information on casting, how do you take object of certain type and use it as an object of a different type, which is a very key area of understanding. It is important to understand it is as well as for effective use and as well as for avoidance of common errors. Week 8 will talk about exceptions. That is one theme, which is what happens if your program gets into some difficulty at the runtime. So, the C++ has a very strong feature to talk about that. And the other theme, so it has two themes actually. The other theme is templates, which is called meta programming in C++. In simple terms, templates are kind of that kind of programming in C++ where you write a function and then you have certain parameters of that, which we say are type parameters. When someone uses that function, then based on the actual type of use, the compiler will generate multiple functions, right. So, it is a code generator within your program, right. So, it is a very, very strong feature. And we will close on C++ 03 with discussions on input output structures like streams, variety of them, and the brief overview of the standard library. From week 10, we will move into modern C++, introducing you again in a similar manner which part of C++ is just better C++. You know, it's so a number of features are again provided just to enhance the language, not really primarily giving you something new. Week 11 would be very, very interesting and somewhat difficult, where we will talk about again two key themes. One is lambda expressions. Lambda expressions are nothing but they are functions, but they are anonymous function. That is, they do not have a name. These are functions which do not have a name. What does that all that mean? So, you will see. And then support for concurrency, for writing concurrent programs, and we will try to do some specific examples work out in this. In the concluding week, we will talk about some of the other foundational concepts in C++ 11, the move semantics, the Rvalue. You have heard about Rvalue, Lvalue, but what is the Rvalue semantics, what is Rvalue reference, and what are the extensions to the C++ standard library coming to C++ 11, and then we will summarize on the course. So, this is an overall plan, and as you keep doing, it will keep on unfolding. In terms of the tutorials, there are some about 15 tutorials are currently planned. First 4 of them is about building C++ program, next 2, 5 and 6 is for mixing C and C++ code. The next 2, 7 and 8 are basically will be directly useful to the module, because we work out a number of examples to show you how you can make a user defined type which behaves similar to any built-in type like int or double. Like how do you build a type for complex, or how do you build a type for say fraction. You want the fraction to type to be there and behave exactly like int. How do you do that? Then in 9 and 10 we will talk about the concepts of design pattern, which will be foundational in terms of your design understanding if you want to specialize into that. 11 and 12 we will talk about compatibility between C and C++. We will talk about several standard software development processes for C++ and tools. In 13 and 14 and in 15 we plan to cover C++ coding style, that is what is a good way to write code in C++. This is not an exhaustive list, like unlike the modules which are frozen. The tutorials are not an exhaustive list. These are what currently we plan to do. We may record appropriately more tutorials if there are requests from you all. So, please feel free to suggest if you think that, well, in this area or in this topic it would be good to have a tutorial which will complement and or supplement your knowledge to become a good developer. So, with this I conclude on this module. We have discussed on the course outline in terms of the different modules and tutorials that you can expect for the course, and just a reminder for the critical actions. Please take these actions before you start getting into the course. Revise your C, revise your basic data structure, revise the basic algorithms, and install GCC and GDB and try out several C programs with it. Even if you have an access to some other C or C++ compiler on your system, you must install these GCC and GDB, because throughout the course we will take this as a standard and all examples, all comparisons will be done based on that. So, if you come and say that okay, my Turbo C++ is giving this, I will not be able to listen and respond to that, because I do not have that compiler. There are hundreds of compilers. So, we have the most popular is GCC and it is free. So, all of us can use it and we will use that as a standard tool. In fact, much of the industry also uses this as a standard tool. So, we will keep to that. And if you think, suggest more tutorials, I will be happy to record it for you. So, welcome again to Programming in Modern C++ course. I am really happy that you have decided to skill yourself up in a very critical area of computer science, and I hope you will have excellent couple of months, very successful couple of months with this course. Thank you.